Hello.
Hey, Brad.
Class number 3. One more to go after this.
Okay. So you had the beginner Tai Chi in between, or?
Yeah. And
Okay.
then the beginners after this one.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you just got to keep calibrating. Yeah.
The last one, beginners, it dropped a couple times.
Oh, no.
So if that happens, it took me a while to get back on, but everybody was still there. So that was good.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah, internet's really slow right now. I think that's what it is. Hi, Luann.
Hi. How you guys doing? I have my iPad oriented horizontally. Does that work, or is it better vertically? Is this a good image, or?
You look lovely.
Excellent. Good.
Um,
So I just got an email from my yoga studio. They said that now they are able to open with limited people in each, as long as it's not they're more cardio classes, and a maximum of 4 plus instructor.
A maximum of 4.
Yeah, that's what they said.
And
Yeah, and the yoga studio I'm at, it has designated spots, and we used to have 7. And this last email, I just looked at it 5 minutes ago, and it said that they're looking at a maximum of 4 plus instructor. And as long as it's classes that don't involve any kind of rest cardio. So it's evolving still.
Hi, Roberta. Long time no see. So, okay, so that's, yeah, 4 or 5 in a room, 4 with the 4 or 5, including the instructor. Just
Yeah.
won't for us because we
No.
can't keep putting lots of classes because I pay rent per class per hour.
Mm.
We can't keep putting classes in line with each other. So we'd have to wait until, we can have people in a room. But you do mention something that I've wondered about. Tai Chi, I don't know if they consider that cardio. Like
Right.
I know it's okay to go to a gym and practice individually. You're lifting weights by yourself or you're doing things individually. That's you can do that. So I'm not sure if Tai Chi, and I think that actually we could maybe run Tai Chi because you're not, part of the concern is the exertion and the huffing,
Mhm.
puffing, and we're not doing that. The only reason why I didn't go with, well, we can still do Tai Chi is just because of the optics, and people might feel, well, I mean, I don't care about other people outside, but our own students might go, well, I don't feel safe. We're supposed to close down while we're having classes.
Yeah, of
So it's more
course.
the optics kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I obviously want to support you and the studio in whatever fashion makes the most sense. So, right. So whatever works, works.
Okay, right on. And these are shorter classes right now, so I'll get right into it. And so right now we'll be doing Wednesday night as well. I'll send out an email about Wednesday night time, and there'll be a different login information because it's a different day. So it'll be different Zoom login. And of course, these are recorded. And so you can access them, numerous times if you want. Okay, so let's get started. And as always, I always like to remind people, don't be shy to unmute yourself. If you have any questions or comments, just jump right in. So we'll do a shortened version of warm-ups and kind of just get right into either principal things or concepts right away. And as we go along, I'll try to be as efficient as possible. Hanging out. Now, as you know, often, the preamble, the blurb is hang out, weight in the feet or weight through the feet, exiting out through the feet, mind and breath in the belly. Because this is a more advanced class, we can get more open, more spontaneous with this. So Once you have your breath in your belly, and that should immediately, by the way, immediately release your abdomen. Just the thought of going to your belly and just the thought of placing your breath in your belly, this should be an immediate release. Now, let's place our minds, instead of the belly, into the feet themselves. As you hang out, instead of resting the mind and breath in the belly, let's go directly to the feet. Resting the mind and breath into the feet. And also see if you can let that trigger your feet to open, the bones in the feet to open and release and spread apart. So we can put the mind and breath, we can rest the mind and breath anywhere, especially after some experience with Tai Chi and or Qigong, working with our mind, working with our energy. The lower Dong Chen is just the main resting place, the main storage place, but we can make anywhere our resting place. So right now we're choosing the feet. And then from the feet up, we're using the feet as kind of our central place, our home base, rather than usually here. So once we enter the feet, release and relax the feet, dwell in the feet, let's work from there. Relax up from the feet or extend up through the feet. Have the relaxation of the feet, the opening of the feet, the expansion of the feet, the enlivening, energizing of the feet actually inform up through your body. So your standing, your alignment, all that's informed and made to occur not only from the feet, but because of the feet. That's just a matter of intention. So we're just moving from here, home base, placing home base into the feet, and let that be the place which informs everything else. Let me know if you have any comments or questions with this. So we have the ability and the developing capacity to place our locus of power anywhere.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm noticing, like cognitively, when you say open and release the feet, I think about the front of the foot, right under the ball. But actually, when I focus more on the back of like my heel and that area, because I always struggle with having a lot of tension in my calves. And I find it helps to release the calves to open around the heel rather than the forefoot, which is only today did I think about there being another part of the foot.
Okay. Yeah, so generally you want to use the whole sole of the foot, the whole entire surface of the bottom of the foot, except for the arch. We don't want to collapse into the arch, and because that pinches the knees in, destroys the structure, destroys the alignment. So other than the arch, you want full contact with the ground. And generally, it's best to have it even, 100% even, not favoring any place specifically, nice full contact. It does bring up the point as well that if you do notice there's a lot of tension in your calves, then you do want to start to kind of play with your awareness and your positioning so that there isn't an acute amount of tightness or stress in any particular place. If for you, if it's not the calves that seem to be particularly tight, maybe it's thigh or part of the thigh, maybe it's the knees. So become aware of where those tight spots are those acute points of tightness or tension, and you want to very actively open and release that. So that might be a matter of adjustment of your structural alignment, including your feet. If you have pretty good structural alignment, then it's a matter of just consciously, willfully, energetically opening and releasing that specific area. So working with this idea just for now, just for today, of from the feet up, releasing opening from the feet up. It's the opposite direction of what I usually say. Recently, I've been fond of the imagery of a rope ladder. And our spine, our skeleton is that hanging rope ladder. And it's that rope or cloth ladder with the last rung a little bit weighted so that it hangs and pulls down a little bit. And if you imagine unclasping, releasing the rope ladder, it just rolls out, falls, rolls out with gravity, pulls, elongates with that little bit of weight at the bottom rung. It just unfolds down, the rope ladder. That's usually the image I use, the spine, skeletal structure. This is exactly the opposite direction. From the feet, see if you can have the feet elongating, aligning, erecting your skeletal structure and your form from the feet up without muscularly engaging. So instead of a rope ladder, unfurling down, it is like a couple imageries I have. It is moving up through your body to inform and open your body. I don't know if you can relate to this, but you know those blinds, those kind of aluminum or metallic blinds, the slats? Ever take one of those individually or something like those things, and you can kind of get it to snap up straight, like it can kink or bend and you kind of bent somewhere. But if you flick it just right or move just right, it just snaps up. So this is kind of the quality or feeling I get when I work from the feet up. I can work with the feet energetically and physically, and it can inform my structure and enliven and buoy, support, fill my structure from the feet up. So instead of from the top down, hanging, unfurling, unfolding like a rope ladder, top down, hang from the top of the head, hang. This is the opposite direction. As you get the same non-doing, same non-muscularizing, it's just informed and creates that shape from the feet up. Let's work with that a bit. Let me know if that's happening for you at all or if you have any questions. From the feet up. Or it's almost like one of those inflatable things on the side of the road used for advertising where they're just flopping all around. That's the air being fed from the bottom up. Being fed from the bottom up. So that's the direction we're working with now.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When I do that, I can either feel it directed sort of up through my spine, or it can kind of go all over. Is there a preference around this one, directionally or intentionally?
Oh, okay, that's a really interesting question. So I actually have another question for you about that. If you can tune into that, or maybe even do it right now, how do those two feel differently? How do they activate different parts of the body, or how do they feel differently? How would you contrast them in terms of feeling or description?
Well, the spine, when I feel like it's just kind of helping to elongate my spine, and it just kind of travels up and it's more localized. If I'm moving the energy up to here, then it becomes much more like that Michelin. It's more expansive and it moves its way up through every part versus just, and it feels really good. So, but one does seem to help my spine sort of decompress as I move it, and the other one kind of moves and fills all the cavities.
Okay. So that's very, very interesting and very good. And part of what that means is I'll just talk about it this way. First, your ting is increasing. T-I-N-G. T-I-N-G. Ting means your inner awareness, your sensitivity, your inner listening skills, basically your internal body awareness. So it's becoming quite keen because you're noticing distinct differences that this process creates or can create. So that's really good, simply that you are able to differentiate between those different qualities, effects, and different experiences. So that's good in itself. And the reason why I asked you to what's the difference, how they feel different, is to continue to work with your ting, continue to mine your inner awareness and refine it and develop it and rely on it. So which one would you do depends on which quality feeling either maybe feels better or you need right now.
Right.
So both would be good, especially because you mentioned the one that's more diffuse throughout. You mentioned that feels really, really good. And so it's probably doing some really good things for you. So you can use them depending on the moment and how you feel. And now you have those choices and the self-instructional ability because you have a sensitive enough internal awareness. Now, by the same token, if you felt something you're doing, oh, that doesn't feel good, or I feel that darkness, color is kind of a dark or black, or feel something closed off, again, perfect example that your ting or your inner awareness is starting to make you getting better, clearer, keener, so you can start to self-adjust, self-correct. So that's excellent. Now, so I wouldn't particularly put one over the other, except I might say the spine, because it is more specific. And the spine is so important to everything. It's the core for everything. I would tend to favor slightly towards the spine.
Okay.
And what you might do, for example, is do simply this. The first few moments, minute, 2 minutes, or just first little bit of time, get the clarity that the spine gives you. Work that specificness and clarity of the spine. And then you can change over to the more general.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, very good awareness. Anybody else feel any effect or result from working from the feet up?
It feels good. It's very different, but it feels really good. And lots of energy coming up.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
one of the specifics I feel, for example, is it feels good, and it feels like it's an emptying quality, and not only an opening. The word I would say maybe even more than opening. Of course, opening is part of it. It feels like it empties my structure, empties my body. So I become emptier, lighter in a sense, and also specifically between in my joints, it seems to open up the joints with this pressure, this openingness, this pressurizing upness. I feel my joints, my skeleton being more spacious, joints opening, and an emptying quality. So Roberta, when you're talking, that's what it triggered in my thoughts.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Had to work a little bit to keep my shoulders down because we're going up. But
Yeah.
but yeah, then I just brought the energy into my arms more.
Excellent.
We should really be flailing like this if we're if we're doing the balloon thing. But
Well, if you are, I hope you're getting paid for the.
yeah, advertising something. Tai Chi, you gonna pay me?
Yeah, except we need a different movement.
Yeah.
So let me just touch upon something there. Like you said, you found your shoulders coming up, and so the thought, I didn't mention it. The thought was there, but now I will mention it because you touched upon it. When we do something like this, especially something that's dealing with an up movement, but it's actually any movement, because down can create, as you know, the problem with doing a down movement, focusing on something down, is what? People will tend to get drab with their posture. They'll tend to get pulled down. That's why we need that so-called string. That's just a very crude way of avoiding this. And whenever we do down energy or something about down, this will tend to happen. Equally so, I'm glad you mentioned this because I thought this might be, it will occur. You might have some good things going on, maybe a lot of good things, but there could be a little bit of it coming up. So again, you're already showing me that you guys have the awareness to notice these things. You have the ting nicely developing. So you notice that, and then you also already had an intuitive way to address it. And so you're getting very intuitive or intimate with your chi work. It's fantastic. So yes, that's something that will tend to happen, is you might tend to come a little bit weight upper side. Your center of gravity might raise a little bit. Shoulders might come up just a tiny, tiny bit, or just a little bit of tension coming up. And there could even be just a raising of the energy in a vapid way, a little too slick and unregulated flitting of energy up. And a little bit of that's okay, but if it passes a certain point, you get spacey, if not potentially even queasy or nauseous, but probably it could go to that extent. But even if it doesn't, it probably won't. Just a little bit spacey, a little bit ungrounded. So let's actually work with that possibility and counter that. And it's actually very much related to what Roberta was saying about she went into her arms, or sent energy into her arms. Same thing, that's perfect. Let's just do it specifically with the feet. So if we open up, allow the feet to open us up, and almost have this little bit of, because this energy is just moving nicely up. So if I turn into one of these things, that's the energy being a little bit too flighty, literally, and a little too vapid. So I just keep the weight. I just now go back to my feet and let my feet expand. And there's other things you could do too. You can imagine your feet going into the ground, rooting, any of those things. Roberta did her arms. Any of these things, especially when you feel that they're working. It's guided by your feeling. But if you can kind of allow a lot of uprising, let the feet really move up through your body, the line of pressure in the bobs of your feet, or the expansion of your feet, the openness of your feet, let that really, again, inform upwards through your body. And notice any bit of flittiness or lightness that's a little bit too spacey and flitty. And then emphasize the feet. Let the feet either expand, get wider, fuller, wider, enter the ground a little bit. Counter that flittiness. So you still have the uprising, the upflowing, the upness, but you have the countering yin energy to keep you grounded. Feet. So down, you're developing the ability to work both directions at once and to manage and balance the energy. So it's not too flitty, not too light and rising. You want to anchor it. Now, can you let the openness of your feet open the belly, the dantian? The openness and fullness of the feet, can you let that directly trigger the abdomen to do the same thing? Now let's go into a little wider here, a little bit of serving tea. Let's work the same process. I'm gonna let my feet relax, open, expand, opening the feet. And that opening of the feet and that pressure, the pressure that's created by the opening, like the bones in the feet spreading apart, that pressure of that opening, or simply the pressure from the ground, just like it informed our standing posture, let it also motivate and make your movement. So so I really suggest that you let the movement be small. Don't try to do a full, complete to an endpoint. Stay with the process, stay with the concept, stay with the principle and the energetics, and don't worry about getting to any endpoint or finishing a move. Again, for example, for myself, I feel a direct effect on my Dantian or my entire abdominal area when I open and release and expand the feet. If I can relax and open, it directly triggers this to do the same thing as my feet. And then if I do that, I can have that go through the rest of my torso, out my arms, or again, the opening process. So my open feet have now created an open body, including my hands. Notice if your hands are affected by the process you're doing from your feet. So you're not opening up your hands, and you're not doing anything to or with your hands, but perhaps something has happened to your hands because of what's happening with your feet. Or and if it hasn't, you can perhaps with intention translate that perhaps to the abdomen, as I mentioned, and then perhaps beyond. So if it hasn't happened consciously already, you can intend it or guide it so the action of the feet is affecting your hands. Don't try to mimic it. Don't try to recreate it in your hands. Just have the allowance and the intention for the feet, the same process in the feet, to be reaching the hands. I directly feel I can let go of muscle stuff and doing things with my muscles because now I'm relying on a different force. Again, it's like a balloon. It's called pung. P-E-N-G, pung. That expansive balloon force, that outward expansive force. That's keeping my body upright and open and making it not necessary to use my muscles. Not just muscles to move, but I don't need the muscle action to hold myself up, to hold myself in place. That muscle action that holds you in place is being replaced by this expansive pung force. And right now it's coming from the feet. Sometimes we work from here. Right now it's from the feet themselves. See if you can feel that openness, emptiness, expansiveness, uprisingness from the feet, affecting the belly and or the hands, and maybe more pervasive. If I really focus on my feet opening and staying open, it truly opens up the entire torso without me doing it. I'm just noticing, wow, okay, that's happening for me. Any comments or questions? Can really help release, 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 release.
Yeah, I'm noticing that even though I've got a couple spots that are resistant to being open, in coming to this, like there's a lot of emptiness in my arms and hands, and so it almost feels like the breath cycle and the opening is enough to create the movement. Even though I've got a couple spots that are just pretty angrily tight right now.
Right.
So that's interesting that both can happen.
Yeah, yes. Yes, so that's very true. And so you're going to have little speed bumps, but the road can still be generally open. But there's some speed bumps on that road or that highway. Again, that's very, very good awareness. What will happen, and maybe this is what's happening, what will happen as the ting, as your inner sensitivity becomes very, very, very keen, you'll notice things that are speed bumps or little tight areas that you wouldn't have noticed at all before. And so you may have just noticed, oh, this feels pretty good. I feel pretty open. But now because, again, the awareness gets keener and finer, you're noticing something that either you wouldn't have noticed before or was just kind of a dull sensation or dull slight awareness. Now it's very sharp. Oh, there's a speed bump. There's a tight spot. So give yourself credit and enjoy that, because that's a evolution. That's a development. That's a development of inner awareness. And so as you get better with your inner awareness, your inner light gets brighter. The light of consciousness gets brighter and sharper. You're always going to see more. So see that as a positive thing, not a frustrating thing. Oh, this is still tense or that's tense. I thought this area was pretty good, pretty open, but now it feels sharp or tense. That's all good stuff because you're just seeing things that couldn't have been seen before. This is why it's always a path of frustration. It's a formidable path for the psychology because the better you get, the more there is to do and the more there is to let go of. So there's always more to release. Can always be more relaxed, more song. Song is released or relaxed. There's no end to that. You always get more. And as you release more, you're able to feel more. As you release more, you're able to feel more because the body becomes more transparent. You can feel more now. And so now there's more things you'll pick up and notice that you have to change and release. It's the path, no way around it. Now, if we come into, let's say, stance and hold the ball and forward and back, stationary, parting horse's mane, coming from the opening of the feet. Opening of the feet, the expansiveness of the feet, the informing from the feet up, and see if the feet are affecting the hands, how it's affecting the body, what it's doing for the body, how it changes your movement, quality of movement, feeling of movement. Coming from the feet, emphasizing the feet. Maybe once in a while, just make sure consciously release the waist and the abdomen. Again, what's very, very helpful, a really nice tactic, is to emphasize, overemphasize the coming back movement, the yin movement, the shifting back. Really emphasize, really put the awareness and the work in the coming back to hold the ball. And then there's a lot of carryover into the movement going forward. So if you were to have a little bit of a break or a coasting, that would be actually in the forward movement. The coming back movement, shifting back, that should be full of intent, full of awareness, full of good conscious work. And that will add a lot to the forward movement. Let me know if you notice that. See if you can release the abdomen and torso area a bit more. See if you can allow the openness of the feet, the openness or expansion of the feet. See if you can allow that even more up into your body. More up into your body, let it change your body. Breathe.
So is it like the coasting forward? It feels a bit like there was something here that got released. Like not just a physical shape, but that in opening to here, that there's a release forward in some sort of way.
So back here.
Yeah, like as you're talking about being really conscious coming back, it feels like there's something lets go to come out.
To come back forward.
Yeah.
Something lets go. Do you have a particular place in the body where that seems to happen?
Well, it's not, it doesn't feel like a physical, like, if I was doing this physically, then I'd, release forward. It just feels like that there's an end point that wants to unfurl, to come back. So I don't, there's not a specific point in the body.
Right, okay. So yes, there's a place where with that word, it will unfurl. There's a place where you don't have to think about it. There's, again, I think that really happens more so when you really emphasize this yin movement, coming back, emptying, 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 coming back, that there's a place where this happens for you, where you shift back forward without you deciding, saying inside, okay, I should shift the weight now the other way.
Yeah.
Place.
Maybe if I really focus, maybe it's more like the spiral in the legs releases, because there's a spiraling kind of into the hip here, and then that resolves, right?
Okay. It could be, this may or may not be related. It could be that as you emphasize this move coming back, the pung increases until it pushes you back. And by back, I mean forward. So filling, emptying, emptying, filling with emptiness. And you're pushed back by that pungness, the pung force. Now let's try this with more mobility, see if we can keep it stepping. Of course, when we do more movement, it's an opportunity to see where we lose it. Let's just try a few parting words is made where we're doing a few steps. And notice where you tend to lose that fullness, that pungness, or the feet moving up into the body, the feet informing the rest of the body alignment and the movement. See where you might lose it. And see how much you can carry this action from the feet to cause the physical movement. Notice how this really does get you away from muscle work. You're accessing a different kind of power that's different than contracting muscles to generate movement. It's pretty much the opposite. It's an expansive openness to generate movement. But you might, at certain times, you might get very cognizant, very clearly cognizant of the fact that this is very different than me moving by using my muscles. So this is definitely a trigger for that kind of awareness and moving into that kind of different mechanics and technology. So working with the feet as we have been doing, have that actually cause the movement. That is very different than normal movement coming from the muscles. Now, one more thing I'll put in here, especially this is optional. If you feel you have brain space for this, you can do this. Emphasize, just like where before we emphasized the yin movement coming back, the weight shift coming back. What I'd like you to emphasize here, and this is related to the same sort of type of movement, emphasize the standing holding the ball. Emphasizing the palms rotating to face each other. Emphasize that transition move. Emphasizing holding the ball. Put all the conscious energy work into that in particular. And then the rest will just kind of slide and coast for you. Emphasize, really work the opening from the feet upward, in the holding of the ball, even the rotating of the arms and hands to form the ball shape. Emphasize that, and that you're not doing that, but it happens for you from the feet. And if you really emphasize the stand and hold the ball part, that will trigger